But until you take the shortest distance, until you take one of them, that's what we're doing now. Find the shortest distance of the presentation, take all these possibilities, and then somehow, I'm not sure exactly how, it's like yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they have it.
Oh, yes.
Medic Research Lab. If you haven't met me before, I'm Tony Clement, the Dean of Engineering Technology here at Mohawk, which partners to bring innovative solutions to market, create new, better products and jobs and greater prosperity for our community. So this is a perfect venue for the Honourable Tony Clement to announce
students. So for years now, our students have been doing groundbreaking work on here at the college. Go Canada, and it has been very much appreciated, Minister. Over the past 5 years, Mohawk has received 3 NSERC grants totaling $5.6 million in e-health records and energy technologies. We've also received 2 FedDev awards totaling $1.5 million for research projects with SMEs here throughout the region. And MEDIC, the lab that we're standing in right now, was made possible thanks to a $2 million investment from CFI, the Canada Foundation for Innovation, plus the Ontario government and our private sector partners, of course. So we're very excited to have this great benefactor from, or have this the federal government here in this very lab, which I think is showing a great return on the federal investment. Minister Clement is president of the Treasury Board and member of Parliament for Parry Sound, Muskoka. He was first elected to the House of Commons in 2006 and has since been re-elected in 2008 and 2011. In 2011, Minister Clement was appointed president of the Treasury Board and minister for the Federal Economic Development Initiative for Northern Ontario. He previously served as Minister of Industry and Minister of Health. Prior to running for federal office, the minister was a member in Partnership Against Cancer Corporation. Minister Clement has also been...
Thank you as well for your kind invitation to be here with my collaborator in all this, Ray Sharma, who's going to say a few words, I believe, a little bit later as well. Great to be back at Mohawk. I always enjoy coming here and coming close to my roots in Hamilton, and having been raised on West 5th Street, not on the street, but in a house off the street, the Hamilton area, and to be with my colleague Davis Sweet as well, who does such a great job representing the area in Parliament as well. And exciting to start off the new year. I saw those bright-eyed and bushy-tailed students on in the hallway outside getting ready for the semester, and talk a little bit about this Canadian Open Data experience, which is, I know some of you, judging by what Rob said, are already veterans of hackathons or appathons, but this is something new, it's unique, it's exciting, it's national, and I think it will really make a difference, not only for the cash and prizes that will be available, but also for our country and for our citizenry. So I will talk a little bit about that. CODE, Canadian Open Data Experience. It'll be a 48-hour hackathon or appathon taking place on the weekend of February 28th, March the 2nd. Now, the physical location's Toronto, but of course, in today's day and age, if you can't make it to Toronto, that's fine too. There'll be an opportunity for students and tech entrepreneurs alike to participate online as well. And what is CODE? It's an opportunity for ambitious and creative students, also other people as well, but I'm speaking to a student audience. So those of you here at Mohawk, and of course across the country, the opportunity to develop new apps using federal government data sets. Now, innovation and entrepreneurship. Rob went through some of the reasons for that in terms of the infrastructure that is here now. And I was also told about Ryan Barrichello, who is president of Links Smart Inc., which is a web development firm. And Ryan graduated from Mohawk back in 2006, and he has won a string of awards for his entrepreneurial skills. So that's a really good example of an amazing, successful graduate from here at Mohawk. And what we want to do is we want to build on that foundation, and CODE wants to build on that foundation, and also build on the foundation of the Great Canadian Appathon, which Ray Sharma at XMG Studio has fostered and has fathered, and that is something that I think you'll find interesting as well. XMG, I'm sure Ray is too reticent to tell you, but it's a very successful, Toronto-based, but international mobile game developing company. So Ray will talk appropriate, and I don't have to tell you in this room that, well, since humanity invented government resources in a more sustainable manner, we have data sets on almost anything imaginable, from Canadian demographics, of course, through Stats Canada, to things like national broadband coverage. That's a good example right there. And with the rise of digital technology, there's been a growing appreciation for the data that has hitherto been locked up tight in the government vault. Most people now understand the potential that that data can create. It can create new economic opportunities and, of course, improve the lives of our citizens. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, I really do believe that open data is Canada's 21st century natural resource. It allows developers and designers and hackers to use that raw data, and they can transform it. Entrepreneurs can transform that into useful apps, and that allows Canadians to save time on their day-to-day schedules and, of course, make better informed decisions. Let me just give you an example. First last October, and I was joined by the co-founder and developer of Transit App, a guy named Sam Vermette. And Sam is a native of Montreal, and he developed an app that offers real-time transit decisions, real-time notifications and route planning for over 30,000 users throughout North America. Since its launch just last downloaded, all of those things helps our fellow Canadians manage their time more effectively. And open data is also great for our economy. Mapping apps like the transit app are estimated to have unlocked, just in the United States, a value of $90 billion. Here at home, Natural Resources Canada has commissioned a study on the economic value of open geospatial information within the Canadian economy, and I expect those results sometime this year, but I have no doubt that the actual value, the added value for the Canadian economy is in the millions, if not the hundreds of millions. Today there are thousands upon thousands of data sets available already on our open data portal. That's data.gc.ca. And I think we're up to around 200,000 data sets right now, and more are being added all the time. And in fact, we've used feedback from the open data community to make sure that newly released data sets are going to be available for this Canadian Open Data Experience Code. Open data users voted the North American Industry Classification System and the National Occupation.gc.ca, and they are now on the portal. So the other great thing about this site is that you can integrate or mash up the data with other government data for analysis, and you can build your apps using these classifications in a variety of ways. So, code. Code participants will be challenged to use open data from data.gc.ca to create the most popular. Of course, appathons or hackathons are great educational tools that also help to spur innovation in the tech industry, which is why we as a government are focusing so heavily on developing relationships with colleges and universities like right here at Mohawk. Our intention is clear, is to encourage entrepreneurs and students like yourselves to continue exploring the possibilities, the endless possibilities that open up when technology is combined with computer science, graphic design, social sciences research, or government studies. So this is part of our broader commitment to the open data movement. We want to make sure that this is spread out across the country, that open data enthusiasts across the country and indeed around the world are part of this open data movement. We think it is so important. One of the things that we did last year was overhaul the open government license. We used the best practices. We open sourced the license agreement, and basically the new license gives you unprecedented access to federal data and the right to reuse it. And for thousands of government data sets, as I've said, download the data sets around the world can do that, and we think that that's a good thing. And of course, code is there to help us leverage that data. Important for Canadians in the future. I should tell you that more than using federal government data, we're just at the starting point. This is really the start of something new and exciting, and so the opportunities for new apps are really almost boundless. And I can tell you right now, there's an app for travelers that warns you about situations that may affect your safety or well-being abroad. There's an app that brings you important information on recalls and safety alerts for a wide range of goods, such as health. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what's already been created using the open data sets, there is a Developers Corner feature, which is on that is actually at data.gc.ca, and you can also access specific technical information to get started. So let me just say, this is an exciting time to be involved with this as President of the Treasury Board, as part of the Government of Canada. I'm really looking forward to the participation of Mohawk students. I don't think your President has undersold you or oversold you. I think he said very accurately that you've got some experience doing these hackathons in the past and using government data in a way that can be advantageous for Canadian citizens across the country. And I believe that this is a groundbreaking national event, and it really gives you the opportunity to prove your talent against the top students, entrepreneurs, and innovators throughout the country, and prizes. So there is a financial incentive here. We've got some great sponsors who have already signed up, including, of course, our friends at XMG and of course OpenText and some others. And we are quite assured that this is going to be definitely worth your while from a monetary point of view, but of course we think that it will give you some great exposure into the world of open data as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the great minds in this room and on this campus can create, and I wish everyone great success. Let's go out there and use this open data for something that will be we're going to talk about the Great Canadian Appathon, so please give them a round of applause. Thank you.
We're going to do a little presentation for your entertainment a little bit. Before we get into that, see if I can, excuse me. So, I got to say something about the minister before I begin, because he's really proving out what a true digital politician is like in this day and age. He, forget about the social networks. He was doing Instagram and Google Hangouts. On for a couple of years now, but now he's behind on as well, trying to reach out and mediums, and open data and open government is actually a very interesting situation. Talking about how the government is looking at what people are up to and what people lies. This is an opportunity to see what's going on at the regulatory agency level. This is what's an opportunity is what is their income, communication on such a detailed level. Of our discussion here today, is to really do things that highlight the wealth of information that's available that the minister mentioned, the data and innovative. Myself, I've been involved in about 600 million mobile downloads worth of app experience, so it's given me a lot of perspective on what it takes to build successful app companies. And we created this hackathon called the Great Canadian Appathon to give back to the student community, to actually just help them learn. And I'll talk in just a minute about the partnership that we in the Canadian Open Data experience. Before I do, I just want to quickly give you some perspective on a per year unit basis. How much these mobile smartphone devices sell when you try and compare them to other computing platforms like PlayStations or Xbox 360. We'll see how the new generation console. But the two are connected in consumption of time. More in web browsing, and soon potentially we're coming up close to our television. If ever, even if you include time spent in mobile web apps and put it over on the other side. That was a seminal month, and ever since then the trend continues to distance itself. So we should care about apps, and we'll connect all the dots between these thoughts in just a minute. Why have apps been so disruptive and successful? Well, if we look at entertainment and considered it on a per hour basis, if a movie costs you $13.50, it's 2 hours, that costs you $6.25 per hour. If you just bought an Xbox game for $40 and it's 40 hours, that's about $1 an hour here. But the truth is, most Xbox games are 6 to 8 hours, so that number should be more like $6, $7. It's a conservative number. When you look at a mobile game and say you take an Angry Birds and you spend 20 hours playing a $1 game including all the updates, that's a nickel per hour. But when you factor in freemium, then the number goes infinite. So, obviously if you look at entertainment on a per hour basis, we're talking about pennies versus dollars for a console. You can apply this to anything. Paperback book, $10, 10 to 12 hours, 80 cents or so per hour is what you're paying on that on an statistics for you. The all-time biggest selling game in video game history was Mario Bros, it sold 225 million copies in 25 years. It's the all-time biggest hit. Brain Age, just for you video game doubters when it comes to brain development, is the number 3 all-time selling brain development game. Angry Birds has had 1.7 billion downloads in 5 years. I've been over there to visit them in Finland. Their head of marketing is doing a good job. Now look at this race to 1 million user statistic. Facebook 9 months, it took Instagram 9 days. Or sorry, let's Draw Something. Draw Something has since been, I guess, replaced by Instagram. I'm just going to quickly flip through this because in the interest of time, but just to give you, just a dream perspective about the future of applications. We're all familiar with the Khan Academy and how amazing tool that is for all parents. Education industry, from an apps point of view, has tremendous potential for disruption. People are still carrying around textbooks. There's going to be really probably one of the biggest impacts in education. Healthcare as well. These devices are now being used to monitor your heart rate. It is a little bit scary for some people from a privacy point of view, but diagnostics of a person, you could notify a person maybe 5-10 minutes before a cardiac event occurs that a cardiac event is imminent. And in Canada, 48% of deaths are caused by cardiac events, 10% by stroke. So this could save lives, is what I'm trying to say. There's other apps that relate to other disorders like diabetes. There's some emerging devices that'll be quite interesting. Scanner technologies. There's this freaky one, this terahertz scanner, which can scan through clothing. But it's really not supposed to be meant for that stuff. It's supposed to be meant for seeing if a mold is, has carcinogenic qualities, that type of thing. There'll be other applications. Projectors are already been integrated into devices. The head of mobile at NVIDIA is expecting a 300x improvement in the mobile computing of tablets in the next 3 years. So the next couple of years, tablets are going to be more powerful than the new generation game consoles that just came out. It's going to be very interesting times. And I'm just going to skip through this one in terms of transmedia, which is just an interesting one from the integration of all the different types of media. We've worked with brands like Degrassi, Canadian company, Inspector Gadget, which is also owned by a Canadian company, Cookie Jar. And of course, we're heading towards a multi-screen world, and how this Automotive early hackathon event. There was a company that came out of this event in the Valley that Skype ended up acquiring for multi-tens of millions of dollars, the result of a hackathon. XMG itself, I mentioned awards. We did a hackathon, 24-hour hackathon. The game that resulted, Cows vs. Aliens, ended up getting 3.5 million downloads on Android, about 3 million on iOS, but it ended up winning Most Innovative Android Game of the Year. And this was a result of a hackathon that we did just to test out whether or not hackathons are viable concepts. So I think there's some proof there. All of academia is we're going to take the best students from GCA, so the top students are going to get in code. And code is, now this is where I think things get interesting on a whole different. The vast amount of information and data that exists within the government and the regulatory agencies that have been collected for not just StatsCan, but by fisheries, by forestry, by the border crossing, the people, and even the these applications, which will use government data that will be available for free, will end up resulting in applications that I believe will result in saving Canadians time. It's not unrealistic that if you have this Bus Guru app, a popular one app, which will tell you, okay, your bus is going to be there in 3 minutes versus say 6 minutes, that you may change your behavior a little bit. And therefore you might save city type of app, but using census information from Australia. So all the, Stony Creek, Dundas, all the local towns and stuff will be pulled, the actual information about, the salaries and so on are pulled in there. And that's an app application that I personally love. But I have to say that the amount of data information that's out there is tremendous on an international basis, of which Canada is helping take a leadership role. but we're talking about water boys underneath the. And I think that's it. And I don't know. Do I pass it back to Tony?
Good job. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Mr. Sweet to come to the podium to say a few words, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Hamilton. Thanks, Ray, for a great presentation. I feel like I have to start with, did you say there's cash and prizes? First, let me take this opportunity, because I have it publicly, to congratulate Rob McIsaac on his tenure here at Mohawk. Since 2008, we've been working together. It's been a great experience for me. I hope of it will just be a greater benefit to Hamilton, to Canada, to the healthcare industry, at large as well. With that said, I am also very confident with the number of very qualified vice presidents here that the college is in good hands. However, the next leader is going to have some big boots to fill, no question about it. But I just wanted to publicly congratulate you. And, I want to say too about, because Tony already mentioned it being the best college in the greater Hamilton, Toronto area. Congratulations on that as well, and all of your efforts. I say that not just from the aspect of representing Hamilton here as a government member, but also my son is a graduate of Mohawk as well. So there's great things ahead, and this, of course, this new endeavor is going to be just one more arrow in your quiver, so to speak. The emphasis on applied R&D here at Mohawk is exactly what we need to ignite the imagination of entrepreneurs, fuel the human resource needs of business in the greater Hamilton area so our local economy can continue to grow, attract new talent, and attract new business. That's what we're here to talk about today. I want to thank Minister Clement for being here today, for his enthusiasm for Canadian open data experience. Code is an exciting project. I'm confident that the know-how here at Mohawk is going to do very well in this competition. And the results will help our continued effort to be at the forefront of the open data movement. The Canadian Open Data Experience Initiative is just one example of the areas of alignment between the investments and mandate of Mohawk College and the investments and strategic direction that the Government of Canada is taking, so that the world's best performing G7 country remains at the top of an ever-competitive global marketplace. There's no doubt in my mind that innovation and entrepreneurship are fundamental drivers of jobs, growth, and our country's long-term prosperity. That's the sweet spot, and the pun is intended, by the way, here at Mohawk, under these new investments in the modernization is striving to serve. In the past few years, it's been my pleasure to be on campus a couple of times to participate in various announcements of federal funding, all towards these very aims. I recall they were provided for applied research and being impressed by the work of app developers in the lab at that time. What we witnessed was applied research that was being commercialized, so local business sprouted and benefited as a result, and the technology developed in Mohawk Labs had a direct line to small businesses, jobs, and growth in the community. Similarly, I recall being here with then Minister of Natural Resources Lisa Raitt in May 2009 to ensure know-how from the campus was being leveraged at Clement Materials Lab down the hill in Longwood Drive. Federal science and technology funding collaboration is important to that. Again, a win-win for Mohawk, the city, and the country. These are just two examples that I look forward to more collaboration between our government and Mohawk College in the years to come. Once again, that's because technological innovation and entrepreneurship, both of which are near and dear to my heart, and both of which are hallmarks of the Canadian Open Data Experience Initiative, are fundamental drivers of our local and national economy. Thank you very much, and again, Minister, thank you very much for being here.
Yes.
Well, we've actually had to double the capacity because we reached capacity just before Christmas. I think we were expecting 100 teams, and I think we've already reached that. So basically, the sky's the limit. We will accommodate as many as possible. And so right now, our target is if we can get up to 200, that would be great. Double what we initially expected, but we can always make plans for others if we meet that target again.
What longer-term resources are available, say an application provides a civic service, but
Yeah.
may not have a profit model with it because of the nature of that service? Does the federal government provide support for these students that may create that?
Well, I think what we're doing is providing the raw data and the continuous upgrading. I think where our funding will be going is making sure the data is current and is easily accessible. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a number of different aspects of interest in open data. Some of it is entrepreneurial, and that's what we're trying to tap with the code contest. Some of it is not-for-profit groups that might be municipal organizations or even national organizations that have a particular healthcare field or something environmental field or something like that, where they want to provide more research in some cases or more information to the public based on Canadian open data. So it really depends on what your aspiration is. And some of these can intersect. Certainly entrepreneurs can help environmental causes or healthcare causes and so on. But I see the fundamental role of government is providing, in a fresh way, continually the access to more and more data sets of information.
Since we're in a place of learning, what grade would you give your own government in terms of making data available, in terms of open data making available?
A+.
Really?
Well, certainly we are world leaders when it comes to open data. I don't think there's any other government that I'm aware of that can point to the amount of data sets that we have made available. What we are doing is being looked at in the UK. We keep in close collaboration with the USA, with the President Obama's initiatives when it comes to open data. Australia is another good example, and we can go through the list. But I would say one of our strengths in Canada is open data. Now, we always have political debates and discussions. What sort of information should be made available by governments, and what sorts of information, maybe there's a privacy reason, or there could be a national security reason, or because it's a matter of discussion within cabinet. Those have traditionally been areas where information is not provided. And that's a useful discussion to have. And that discussion evolves over time. But I think it is very safe to say to provide Health Canada data and the public security and safety data job, and breed that fosters innovation, entrepreneurialism, the knowledge economy, then we have to continue to be good at this.
But in getting rid of the long-form census, how does that impact the ability of people to create apps?
No, it doesn't impact at all. The fact of the matter, you talk about one public policy decision that was replaced by another form of information gathering, the National Household Survey, that actually went to more houses than the original long-form census. So I think we're fulfilling our mandate. StatsCan has certified that useful data is available through the NHS as well as through the traditional short-form census that has more questions on it than before. So yeah, we're fulfilling that mandate. But this is be part of our renaissance when it comes to
Postal codes in Canada. And now, under the present census, we have some of those postal codes where there's not enough data for StatsCan to provide census tract data. And our Social Planning Council has said that this is a problem for them. When's this National Household Survey coming, and when's that? How's it going to fill that need?
Well, we had a National Household Survey in 2011. I think what StatsCan is doing is taking the results of that. They found that in certain areas of the country, there were some things that they didn't anticipate, but they also found that in other areas of the country there was a greater participation rate than had occurred previously. So yeah, this is how it works. You deliver on a particular public policy good, which in this case is the National Household Survey. You assess the results, which is what StatsCan is doing, and you make some changes for the next survey, which is exactly what they'll be doing. Yeah.
I think the open data movement is a great idea, and I know the city of Hamilton has stumbled with a couple of minor forays into this. Do you plan to encourage the other governments, both provincial and municipal, in Canada to participate in some formal way?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because I neglected to mention that, and that's a really important point. We have a very strong relationship with a number of provinces already on open data, where they have already signed on to our open license. Access the federal data, and on the same terms and conditions, access provincial and municipal data. And so I'm going around the country encouraging that movement. Because we need to have access to your data. Thank you very much. To get going, that we can have that cross-pollination of all these different data sets and make it easier for researchers and entrepreneurs. So that is on Hamilton as part of that movement if they aren't already, and certainly the door is wide open. Yeah.
Minister, are there privacy issues as far as...
Well, there shouldn't be on this. This has all been wiped when it comes to personal privacy issues, but it's something that we always have to have regard for. So I'm in close contact and work with the Privacy Commissioner to make sure that everything that I'm doing on open data meets the test of privacy, because that is obviously another public policy good. And so, as Ray mentioned, this is big data. This is data that is on the macro scale. It's not, individualized to an identifiable name and/or address, but it's something we have to constantly be aware of in government, that we meet the standards that we have set for privacy. Yeah.
Along those lines, the potential of open data, it sounds great. I mean, it bridges the gap between citizens and government, but at the same time, we have to be vigilant that information can be used, whether it be small information or big information, it can be used in threatening ways. What kind of safeguards are in place to make sure that it doesn't be used that way?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing operation with the Privacy Commissioner. We continue to do that. A lot of the initiatives new initiatives are in fact being encouraged by both the Information Commissioner of Parliament and the Privacy Commissioner, because what we're doing is we're sharing information about life in Canada with the people from which the information is derived, not on an individual basis, but on a collective basis. Basically it's their tax dollars. All this tax money is being used to collect or store this information. I believe that there is a right to know what that information can bring forth in terms of useful applications that can reduce the cost of time or energy of money in the day-to-day lives of Canadians. So that's quite frankly the balancing act. But there's no question that if you look around the world, the movement is to publish more big data from government sources that is of course vetted on a privacy point of view and a national security point of view, but is there 99.9% of the time it's useful information that can be applied to make people's lives better. Think of the I don't want to give away the story or let the bright minds in the room think of these things, but think of what we could do that could help someone with their health care. Not with their individualized data, which Ray mentioned. That's an important aspect of healthcare, but also on the metadata. On the population trends when it comes to healthcare. If somebody can develop an app that will make it easier for someone to know of their surroundings, both environmental and health, I think that's a good thing, and will probably mean better health outcomes for Canadians. So really, the sky's the limit in terms of what people will think up. And the whole idea is, it's not Tony Clement, politician, thinking it up. It's not, as I like to say, bureaucrat X14 on the 10th floor of an office building in Ottawa thinking it up. It's all of the critical minds in this room, and that all of them that you represent, that are going to think of things that nobody in Ottawa could ever have thought of, quite frankly. And that, to me, is the exciting point about this. It pushes the information out, and of course, the benefactors will be millions of Canadians potentially.
Question for David Sweet as the local representative.
The Canadian Urban Transit Association, as well as the councillors that are within the riding I represent, and making sure that they're aware of the Build Canada Fund, and we'll be putting the framework to that very shortly, and making them aware of the transit investments we've already made. It's been made legislated permanent now, so those are all the kinds of things I'm making sure that they're aware of, that they can access. And it'll be ongoing as far as when the framework for the Build Canada Fund is concerned. That's going to be a partnership municipally, provincially, and federally. And they know my door is always open.
Great.
I think we have time for one more question.
And their fortune on maps.
Right.
And is that kind of thing going to be coming down as well, or accessible through open data? So
All of the data that I'm mentioning, of course, is available free of charge, but there are some, maybe it could be a geospatial thing that you're referring to. If it gets posted on data.gc.ca, then it automatically, by definition, has to be free of charge. And what I'm doing is I'm nudging departments, maybe get my elbow out a little bit, like Gordie Howe. For those of you who are under the age of 40, he was a hockey player. But, I am doing what I can to push them to, there is an expectation. I'm in charge of this government-wide, and certainly my expectation is many more thousands of data sets will be posted online. So I can't speak to your particular.
currently from government now costs money.
Yeah. But some of those StatsCan ones used to cost money too.
Right.
And then they made.
That's what I'm wondering, is there a move to try and push them into
Yeah.
open data so that
I would say generally that the answer to that is yes, and certainly it has worked very well for StatsCan to do that. Many thousands of these data sets are StatsCan data sets, and my point of view is taxpayers already pay for this. That's what they pay for in terms of government being there. So there should be some advantage to that. So that's my personal philosophy on this, and I'm doing what I can to nudge departments in that regard. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'll just, one last comment, sorry to cut you midstream there, guys. The entire weather industry and all the relating channels and apps and everything like that are all based on government available data. It's open. It's a great example of an open data application.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, everybody.